Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Karis May, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Air Force is Warrant Officer Kevin Close. Welcome. We warmly welcome the family of Private William Charles Woods, whose story will be read shortly. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony from around Australia. During the ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by family, visitors and students on behalf of the following schools. From New South Wales, Chinnalee Public School and Barnsley Public School, and for Victoria, Carey Baptist Grammar School in Kew. To commence this evening's ceremony, I invite you all to stand and join singing the National Anthem. Thank you, boys and girls. You may now be seated. The Australian War Memorial was a vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed at the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and other operations for over more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths and floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Private William Charles Woods, who died of wounds in Belgium in the First World War. William Woods was born in 1896 and was the eldest of three sons of William and Rose Woods of Euroka near Kempsey on the New South Wales mid-north coast. Widely known as Wick in the Euroka community, William was well and widely known in the Macleay River area, and according to the local newspaper, was much admired for his steadiness and general manly bearing. After attending Euroka Public School, Woods worked as a farmer. He also played football and paraded part-time with the local militia regiment. Woods enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force at Kempsey in January 1917, and the Euroka community organised a farewell in the barn of Mr. J.L. Corby. There, Wick was presented with gifts to celebrate his enlistment and wish him a speedy return from the front. After a few short weeks of training at Liverpool Camp in Sydney, Woods embarked for the training camps in England with a reinforcement group for the 18th Battalion. He spent several more months training on the Salisbury Plains in Wiltshire and embarked for France in September 1917. By then, the focus of operations had shifted north into Belgium, where the British were conducting a major offensive which had thus far been successful in breaking out of the Ypres salient. Wood's first major battle on the Western Front was at Menin Road on the 20th of September, after which the battalion consolidated their gains on the edge of Polygon Wood in preparation for the attack that followed 6 days later. The 18th Battalion returned to Ypres and spent the following week in camp at Wippenhoek, before returning up the line where it participated in the assault of Broadsender on the 4th of October 1917. In the following days, work parties from the 18th Battalion brought Stokes mortars, duck boards and small arms ammunition up to the line before the next advance towards Passchendaele. On the 5th of October, German artillery shelled the battalion as they relieved the 24th Battalion from their front-line positions. 8 men were killed and 11 were wounded during the bombardment. Woods was amongst the wounded, having been hit in the arm and back by shell fragments, and was evacuated to the 3rd Canadian Casualty Clearance Station near Poparaja, where he died the following day. Aged 21 at the time of his death, William was buried at nearby Lessenhoek Military Cemetery. The loss of such a popular member of the community shocked the village of Euroka, who, after the war, erected a memorial to Wick Woods in the yard of his former school. His grieving family were devastated by the news that their beloved son soon would not return from the war. They inserted the following epitaph in the local newspaper several days after receiving the dreadful news. For God, King and country he fought. Somewhere in France he fell. Little did we think when he left Australia it would be our last farewell. William Wood's name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, amongst more than 60,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private William Woods, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Boys and girls, could you please stand for the ode and last post?
They should grow not old, as weeds that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, We will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes this evening's last post ceremony. We would like to thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today, and we wish you all a very good evening. Thank you.